Episode 1, The Spark in the Sun. Ellie skipped through the forest, her sneakers kicking up little puffs of dust from the sun-baked path. It was the first day of summer break in her tiny town of Maplewood, and the air buzzed with the hum of cicadas and the smell of warm pine needles. She was 10 years old, with wild brown curls bouncing around her face and a heart full of questions that never seemed to settle. Today felt different, though. The forest shimmered with a kind of magic she couldn't quite name, like the trees were whispering secrets just for her. She hummed a tune her grandma taught her, swinging a stick she'd picked up near the creek. The sun hung high, painting everything gold, and Ellie squinted up at it, wondering how something so far away could feel so close. That's when she tripped. Her foot caught on a root, and she tumbled forward, landing with a soft thud in a patch of moss. She laughed to herself, brushing dirt off her knees, but then she saw it. Right there, nestled between two rocks, was a chunk of ice. Ice? In the middle of summer? Ellie blinked, leaning closer. It wasn't melting. Not even a drip. The sun beat down hard, turning the rocks around it hot to the touch, but the ice just sat there, glistening like a star caught on the ground. She reached out, her fingers hovering over it, half expecting it to vanish like a dream. But it didn't. It was cold, sharp, and real. She picked it up, cradling it in her hands, and a shiver ran up her arms. This wasn't normal. This was something special. "What are you?" she whispered, turning it over. The ice sparkled, catching the light in a way that made it look alive. She glanced around, half hoping someone would pop out and explain it, but the forest stayed quiet. Too quiet, maybe. No birds chirped. No breeze rustled the leaves. It was just her and this impossible little mystery. Then she heard it. A soft coo, like a baby giggling from somewhere nearby. Ellie spun around, clutching the ice tighter. "Who's there?" she called, her voice echoing off the trees. No answer. Just that coo again, closer this time. She took a step forward, peering through the bushes, and that's when she saw him. He was tiny, no bigger than a puppy, with big round ears and skin the color of new leaves in spring. His eyes, huge and dark, blinked up at her, and he tilted his head, letting out another little coo. Ellie's mouth dropped open. "Are you a baby Yoda or something?" she asked, giggling at how silly it sounded. She'd seen pictures of weird creatures like him on TV, but never in real life. Never in Maplewood. The creature waddled closer, his tiny claws brushing the dirt. He stopped right in front of her and pointed a stubby finger at the ice in her hands. "Coo," he said, like he was trying to tell her something. Ellie frowned, holding it up. "You know what this is?" she asked. He nodded, slow and serious, and Ellie felt a flutter in her chest. Maybe she wasn't alone in this after all. "Okay, Baby Yoda," she said, deciding that's what she'd call him. "If you know something, you've gotta help me figure this out. Ice doesn't just sit around in summer. It's gotta mean something, right?" Baby Yoda cooed again, softer this time, and plopped down on the moss, staring at the ice like it was an old friend. Ellie sat next to him, her mind racing. Maybe it was magic. Maybe it was lost treasure. Maybe it was a message from someone far away. She didn't know yet, but she was going to find out. She traced her finger along the ice's edge, feeling its chill sink into her skin. It didn't hurt. It felt alive, almost, like it had a heartbeat she couldn't hear. That's when the wind picked up. Not a normal wind, though. This one swirled around her, tugging at her curls and rustling the leaves in a way that sounded like words. Ellie, it seemed to whisper, soft and low. She froze, her eyes darting around. "Did you hear that?" she asked Baby Yoda. He tilted his head, his ears twitching, and gave a little nod. The wind came again, stronger now, brushing past her like it wanted her to follow. "Ellie," it whispered once more, pulling toward the deeper part of the forest, where the trees grew thick and shadowy. Her heart thumped loud in her chest. She didn't know what was out there, but she couldn't just sit here. Not with the ice in her hands and the wind calling her name. She stood up, brushing moss off her shorts, and looked at Baby Yoda. "You coming with me?" she asked. He blinked those big eyes and scrambled to his feet, cooing like he'd never leave her side. "Okay then," Ellie said, taking a deep breath. "Let's go see what's waiting for us." She held the ice close, its cold a steady comfort against the summer heat, and stepped toward the shadows. The wind swirled ahead, guiding her deeper into the woods, where the trees seemed to lean in, watching. She didn't know what she'd find, but she knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning. And somewhere, hidden in the rustling leaves, something else was waking up. Episode 2, Mickey Joins the Hunt. Ellie trudged deeper into the forest, the ice cradled in her hands like a precious jewel. The trees stretched taller here, their branches weaving a canopy that dappled the sunlight into golden patches on the ground. Baby Yoda waddled beside her, his tiny feet pattering against the dirt, letting out soft coos every few steps. The wind still whispered her name, "Ellie, Ellie," tugging her forward like an invisible thread. She didn't know where it was leading her, but her curiosity buzzed louder than the cicadas overhead. Whatever this ice was, it wanted her to find something. "Do you think it's taking us to a secret hideout?" she asked Baby Yoda, glancing down at him. He tilted his big-eared head and cooed, his eyes sparkling with something she couldn't quite read. "Yeah, you're right," she said with a grin. "We won't know till we get there." She adjusted her grip on the ice, its chill seeping through her fingers, and kept walking. The forest felt alive around her, like it was holding its breath, waiting to see what she'd do next. That's when she noticed the tree. It wasn't like the others. Its bark was rough and twisted, and carved into it was a glowing symbol, a swirl that shimmered faintly, like fireflies trapped under the wood. Ellie stopped short, her mouth dropping open. "Whoa," she breathed, stepping closer. She reached out, her fingers brushing the symbol, and it pulsed brighter, warm against her skin. "Baby Yoda, look at this. It's gotta be a clue, right?" He cooed louder, hopping up and down like he agreed. Before she could figure out what it meant, a rustling exploded from the bushes behind her. Ellie spun around, clutching the ice tight, her heart thumping. "Who's there?" she called, her voice wobbling just a little. The leaves parted, and out tumbled a mouse. Not just any mouse, though. This one wore a bright red bow tie and a grin so wide it nearly split his face in two. He landed with a bounce, brushing twigs off his ears, and looked up at her with big, shiny eyes. "Hiya, pal," he chirped, his voice high and bouncy. "Name's Mickey Mouse. Saw ya from way over there and thought, gee, that kid's got something special. What ya holdin'?" He hopped closer, peering at the ice in her hands. Ellie blinked, trying to catch up. A talking mouse? In a bow tie? This day was getting weirder by the minute. Hi, Mickey," she said, holding the ice up so he could see. "It's ice that doesn't melt. I found it, and now the wind's calling me, and there's this glowing thing on the tree. I think it's a mystery." She pointed at the symbol, and Mickey's ears perked up. "Hot dog," he exclaimed, clapping his little paws. "A mystery? Count me in. I'm real good at find-in stuff. Once found a whole picnic basket that rolled down a hill. Let's crack this case together." He puffed out his chest, and Ellie couldn't help but laugh. He was loud and goofy, but something about him made her feel braver. "Okay," she said, nodding. "You can help. This is Baby Yoda, by the way. He's with me too." Mickey waved at Baby Yoda, who cooed back, and just like that, they were a team. 3 friends on a summer adventure, chasing a secret bigger than any of them. "Let's start with this symbol," Ellie said, turning back to the tree. "Maybe it's a map or a message." She traced it again, and the glow flickered, like it was waking up. Mickey squinted at it, tapping his chin. "Looks like a swirly arrow to me," he said. "Maybe it's pointing us somewhere." Baby Yoda shuffled closer, his tiny hand brushing the bark, and the symbol flared even brighter, casting light across their faces. Ellie's eyes widened. "You're right, Mickey. It's gotta be a sign. Let's follow where it's pointing." She turned, squinting through the trees, but before they could take a step, the sky rumbled. A fat, gray cloud rolled in fast, blotting out the sun. A drop of rain splashed on her nose, then another, and suddenly it was pouring. Big, heavy drops drummed against the leaves, soaking her curls and making Mickey squeak. "Gosh, we need cover!" Mickey yelped, hopping around. Ellie looked around, spotting a hollow tree a few steps away, its trunk wide enough to fit them all. "Over there," she shouted, grabbing Baby Yoda under one arm and the ice under the other. They dashed through the rain, Mickey slipping and sliding behind her, until they piled into the tree's cozy inside. The rain pounded outside, turning the forest into a blurry green curtain. Ellie set Baby Yoda down and shook water from her hair, giggling as Mickey shook himself like a wet dog. "Well, that was a surprise," she said, catching her breath. The ice sat safe in her lap, still cold, still perfect, glowing faintly in the dim light. She smiled at her new friends. "Guess we're stuck here till it stops." But then they heard it. A giggle. Not Mickey's, not hers, not even Baby Yoda's little coo. It came from deeper inside the hollow, soft and echoey, like it was hiding in the shadows. Ellie froze, her skin prickling. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Mickey's ears twitched, and Baby Yoda's big eyes darted toward the dark. The giggle came again, closer now, and the air felt different, like someone, or something, was watching them. "Who's in here with us?" Ellie called, her voice braver than she felt. The rain roared on, but inside the tree, everything went still. The ice pulsed once in her hands, and the giggle stopped. Whatever it was, it knew they were here. And it wasn't ready to show itself yet. Episode 3, The Squirrel's Riddle. Ellie sat cross-legged inside the hollow tree, the ice resting in her lap, its faint glow lighting up the damp walls around them. Rain hammered the forest outside, a steady drum that made the world feel small and safe, even with that strange giggle still tingling in her ears. Mickey Mouse paced back and forth, his wet bow tie drooping, muttering about how he didn't sign up for spooky shadows. Baby Yoda huddled close to her, his big ears twitching every time the wind howled, but his eyes stayed locked on the dark corner where the sound had come from. "Whoever's in here, you might as well come out," Ellie said, trying to sound bold. "We're not scared of giggles." She puffed out her chest, hoping it would trick her heart into calming down. Mickey stopped pacing and nodded, though his whiskers quivered. Yeah. We're tough, see? Real tough. Baby Yoda cooed, soft and steady, like he believed her too. But the shadows stayed quiet. No more giggles, just the rain and their breathing filling the space. Ellie frowned, brushing a wet curl from her face. Maybe it was just the wind, she said, though she didn't quite believe it. She held the ice up, watching its light dance across her fingers. This thing's gotta be the key. It's why we're here, right? Mickey hopped over, peering at it. Sure is a funny piece of ice, he said. Never seen anything like it back in my glade. Baby Yoda reached out a tiny hand, touching it gently, and the glow pulsed brighter for a second, like it was saying hello. Before they could wonder more, a new sound cut through the rain. A chittering, quick and sharp, right outside the tree. Ellie peeked out, squinting through the downpour, and saw a flash of gray darting up the trunk. A squirrel scampered inside, shaking water from its bushy tail, and stopped short when it saw them. Its little black eyes blinked, and then, to Ellie's surprise, it spoke. Well, what's this? It said, its voice high and twitchy. A girl, a mouse, and whatever that green thing is, all cozy in my tree? It flicked its tail, sending droplets flying. Ellie grinned, too excited to be shy. Hi. I'm Ellie, this is Mickey, and that's Baby Yoda. We're not stealing your tree, promise. We're just hiding from the rain. The squirrel sniffed, crossing its tiny arms. Name's Sam, he said. And I don't mind sharing, long as you don't eat my acorns. But what's that shiny thing you've got? He pointed at the ice, his nose wiggling. Ellie held it out proudly. It's ice that doesn't melt. We're trying to figure out why. The wind called my name, and there's a glowing symbol on a tree, and now we're stuck here. Sam's eyes lit up, and he hopped closer, inspecting it. Doesn't melt, you say? That's old forest magic, that is. Been a while since I've seen anything like it. He sat back on his haunches, tapping his chin like he was thinking hard. Tell you what, Ellie. I know a thing or two about this forest. I'll give you a hint about that ice, but you've gotta solve my riddle first. Deal? A riddle? Mickey clapped his paws. Oh boy, I love riddles. Lay it on us, Sam. Ellie nodded, leaning forward. Yeah, deal. What's the riddle? Baby Yoda cooed, curling up beside her, ready to listen. Sam cleared his throat, puffing out his chest like a tiny storyteller. Here it goes, he said. I'm cold but never shiver, I'm clear but hold a secret, I'm found where sun meets shadow, but only if you seek it. What am I? He grinned, his tail flicking with mischief. Ellie scrunched her nose, repeating the words in her head. Cold but never shiver. Clear but holds a secret. She glanced at the ice in her hands, its glow steady and bright. Is it ice? She asked, tilting her head. Sam chuckled, shaking his head. Nope, too easy. Think deeper, girl. Where'd you find that chunk of yours? Ellie bit her lip, picturing the rocks where she'd tripped. Sun meets shadow. That spot had been half lit, half dark, right on the edge of the trees. Wait, she said, her eyes lighting up. Is it a crystal? Like, a magic one hidden in the forest? Sam clapped his paws. Bingo! You're a sharp one, Ellie. That ice of yours? It's tied to a crystal path. Old as the forest, tricky to find. Starts right outside this tree, matter of fact. He pointed a claw toward the rain-soaked ground. Path's hidden, but it's there if you know where to look. Ellie's heart raced. A crystal path? That sounded like the kind of adventure she'd dreamed about. Thanks, Sam. We'll find it as soon as the rain stops. She turned to Mickey and Baby Yoda, grinning. Right, team? Mickey nodded fast. You betcha. We're pathfinding champs. Baby Yoda cooed, his ears perking up. But then it happened. Mickey, bouncing with excitement, bumped into Ellie's arm. The ice slipped from her hands, tumbling toward the edge of the hollow. Oh no! Ellie gasped, lunging for it, but it rolled out into the rain, bouncing once, twice, and then splashing into a stream that had swelled up outside the tree. The current snatched it, pulling it away fast. Mickey! Ellie cried, scrambling to her feet. Gosh, I'm sorry. Mickey wailed, wringing his paws. I didn't mean to. Baby Yoda cooed sadly, peering out at the water. Sam flicked his tail. Better hurry, kids. That stream's quick, and your ice won't wait. Ellie grabbed her sneakers, already soaked, and looked at her friends. We've gotta get it back. Come on. She stepped into the rain, the cold water stinging her skin, and Mickey and Baby Yoda followed, splashing behind her. The ice bobbed ahead, a tiny speck of light in the rushing stream, pulling them into the wet, wild forest. They had a path to find, and now a chase to win. And somewhere in the rain, that giggle echoed again, faint but close, watching them run. Episode 4, The Chase Downstream. Ellie splashed through the rain, her sneakers squishing with every step as she raced along the stream's edge. The water roared, swollen from the downpour, carrying the ice farther and farther ahead. Its faint glow winked at her through the blur of raindrops, like a star teasing her to catch it. Come on, guys, she shouted over her shoulder, her curls plastered to her face. We can't lose it now. Mickey Mouse stumbled behind her, his bow tie flapping wetly, while Baby Yoda waddled as fast as his little legs could go, cooing with determination. Gosh, it's quick! Mickey panted, slipping on a muddy patch but hopping right back up. That ice is slipperier than a greased piglet. Ellie giggled despite the rush, imagining the ice zooming along like it had somewhere to be. It's not getting away from us, she called, ducking under a low branch. The forest blurred past, all green and gray in the storm, but she kept her eyes locked on that tiny light bobbing in the water. The stream twisted and turned, cutting through rocks and roots, and Ellie's heart pounded as she jumped over puddles and dodged slippery stones. Baby Yoda let out a sharp coo, pointing ahead where the ice spun around a bend. Good spot, Baby Yoda, Ellie said, veering to follow it. She could feel the rain soaking through her shirt, but the cold didn't matter. That ice was theirs, and she wasn't letting it go. They rounded the corner, and there it was, caught for a second in a tangle of twigs sticking out from the bank. Gotcha! Ellie cheered, lunging forward. But just as her fingers brushed the water, the twigs snapped, and the ice slipped free, tumbling back into the current. No, she groaned, stomping her foot. Mickey skidded to a stop beside her, shaking his head. Ah, phooey! It's playing tricks on us. Baby Yoda toddled up, his big eyes narrowing at the stream. He raised a tiny hand, and Ellie blinked as the air around them shivered. The water slowed, just a little, rippling like it was listening to him. The ice drifted closer to the edge, bobbing lazily now instead of racing away. "Whoa," Ellie whispered, staring at him. "Did you do that?" Baby Yoda cooed softly, lowering his hand, and gave her a shy little nod. "You're full of surprises," Mickey said, clapping his paws. "Good going, pal." Ellie grinned, her chest swelling with pride for her strange little friend. "Okay, let's grab it while we can." She edged closer to the bank, the mud squishing under her shoes. The ice floated near, its glow steady and bright, and she stretched out, fingers trembling with excitement. This time, she caught it, scooping it up in her hands with a triumphant laugh. "Yes! We did it!" The rain softened as she held it up, letting Mickey and Baby Yoda see. "Teamwork makes the dream work, huh?" she said, winking at them. Mickey bounced on his toes. "You betcha! We're unstoppable!" Baby Yoda cooed, his ears wiggling happily. The ice felt colder now, almost buzzing in her palms, like it was glad to be back with them. Ellie hugged it close, the chill sinking into her skin, and looked around. The stream gurgled quieter, and the forest seemed to sigh, like it approved. But then she saw it. A shadow, quick and dark, flitting between the trees across the stream. Her breath caught, and she squinted through the drizzle. "Guys, did you see that?" she whispered, pointing. Mickey's ears perked up, and he hopped closer. "See what?" "Where?" Baby Yoda turned too, his big eyes scanning the woods. The shadow moved again, silent and smooth, slipping behind a thick pine before vanishing. "Over there," Ellie said, her voice low. "Something's watching us." The rain pattered on, but the air felt heavier now, like the forest was holding a secret it wasn't ready to share. Mickey gulped, tugging his bow tie. "Gosh, I hope it's friendly. I'm not big on spooky shadows." Baby Yoda cooed, pressing closer to Ellie, and she patted his head. "Don't worry," she said, trying to sound brave. "We've got the ice, and we've got each other. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out." She took a step back from the stream, clutching the ice tighter. The shadow didn't show again, but she could feel eyes on her, prickling the back of her neck. "Let's keep moving," she said, nodding toward the path Sam had mentioned. "The crystal path's gotta be close. Maybe that's where the answers are." Mickey nodded fast. "Right behind ya, Ellie. Lead the way." Baby Yoda cooed in agreement, and they started walking, the rain easing into a gentle sprinkle around them. The forest stretched out, wet and wild, and Ellie's sneakers crunched over pine needles as she searched for the hidden path. The ice glowed softly, like a lantern guiding them, and she wondered what Baby Yoda's trick meant. Did he know more about this than he could say? And that shadow, what was it? A friend? A trick? Her mind spun with questions, but she kept her chin up, leading her little crew deeper into the woods. The trees parted ahead, revealing a narrow trail of shimmering stones, faint and easy to miss unless you knew to look. "There!" Ellie said, pointing. "That's gotta be it." The crystal path sparkled, even in the dim light, winding away into the shadows. But as they stepped closer, the air shifted again, and that shadow flickered once more, just out of sight. Something was following them, and it wasn't far behind. Episode 5, Luna's Warning. Ellie stood at the edge of the crystal path, the ice glowing softly in her hands as the last of the rain dripped from the trees. The path shimmered ahead, a trail of tiny, sparkling stones winding through the forest like a secret only they could see. Mickey Mouse bounced beside her, his bow tie still soggy but his grin as bright as ever. Hot dog, Ellie! We found it! The crystal path, just like Sam said. Baby Yoda cooed, his big ears twitching as he stared down the trail, his little hand brushing the nearest stone. Yeah, Ellie said, her voice buzzing with excitement. This has to be where the ice wants us to go. She took a step forward, the stones crunching under her sneakers, and felt a tingle run up her spine. The air here smelled different, fresher, like flowers blooming out of nowhere. But that shadow still nagged at her, flickering in her memory. She glanced over her shoulder, half expecting to see it again, but the woods stayed quiet, watching them with leafy eyes. Let's stick together, she said, looking at her friends. No more dropping the ice, okay, Mickey? He giggled, rubbing the back of his neck. Ah, gee, I promise. I'll be extra careful this time. Baby Yoda cooed in agreement, and Ellie smiled, leading them down the path. The stones glowed brighter with every step, lighting their way as the trees closed in, their branches whispering in the breeze. They hadn't gone far when the path dipped toward the stream again, its water calmer now, reflecting the gray sky above. Ellie slowed, peering at the ripples. Maybe the ice came from here, she said, holding it up. It was in the stream, after all. Mickey hopped closer, squinting at the water. Could be. Maybe it's a river treasure. Baby Yoda tilted his head, his eyes wide, and then he pointed at something shimmering under the surface. Ellie leaned in, and her breath caught. There, just below the water, was a figure, faint and glowing like a ghost made of light. It was small, with long hair that floated around it like a silvery cloud. Before she could blink, the figure rose, breaking the surface with a soft splash. It was a girl, no bigger than Baby Yoda, her skin sparkling like wet glass, her eyes big and blue as the stream itself. Hello, the girl said, her voice tinkling like bells. I'm Luna. I live in the water, and I've been waiting for you. Ellie's mouth dropped open, and Mickey let out a little squeak. Gosh, a river sprite, he whispered, tugging his bow tie. Baby Yoda cooed, waving a tiny hand, and Luna smiled, floating closer. Hi, Luna, Ellie said, finding her voice. I'm Ellie, and this is Mickey and Baby Yoda. We're following this ice. Do you know what it is? She held it out, and Luna's eyes softened, like she was seeing an old friend. Oh, yes, she said, her fingers brushing the air above it. That's a piece of summer frost. It's fragile magic, born from the forest's heart. It doesn't melt because it's waiting. Waiting? Ellie asked, leaning closer. For what? Luna's smile faded, and she glanced around, her glow dimming. For someone to protect it, she said. It's powerful, but it's weak too. Like a flower in a storm. If it breaks, the forest loses something precious. Her voice dropped lower. And something's looking for it. Something that doesn't want it safe. Ellie's stomach flipped. You mean that shadow we saw? She asked. Luna nodded, her hair rippling. Maybe. It's been near the water, watching. Be careful, Ellie. The frost trusts you, but not everyone does. Mickey gulped, stepping closer to Ellie. Golly, that sounds spooky. We don't like troublemakers, do we? Baby Yoda cooed, his ears drooping, and Ellie frowned. We'll keep it safe, she said, clutching the ice tighter. But we need to know more. Where does this path go? Luna pointed down the trail, where the stones curved into the shadows. To the forest's secrets, she said. Follow it, but stay together. The frost needs all of you. She sank back into the water, her glow fading, and whispered, hurry, before vanishing with a ripple. Ellie stared at the stream, her mind spinning. Fragile magic? A shadow hunting it? She looked at Mickey and Baby Yoda, their faces full of questions too. Okay, she said, taking a deep breath. We've got a job now. Let's keep going. Mickey nodded fast. Righto, Ellie. We're a team. Baby Yoda cooed, shuffling closer, and they started down the path again, the stones glowing under their feet. But as they walked, something shifted. Mickey started chattering about how he'd protect the ice with his best mouse tricks, hopping around like he couldn't sit still. I'll juggle it if I have to, he said, pretending to toss imaginary balls. Ellie laughed, but then she stopped. Wait, Mickey, you're not really gonna juggle it, right? He grinned, winking. Ah, just kiddin'. But I could. Baby Yoda cooed, tilting his head, and Ellie sighed. I don't know, she said, her voice quieter. Luna said it's fragile. Maybe we shouldn't mess around. Mickey's grin faded, and he scratched his ear. Gee, I was just trying to cheer us up. You don't think I'd drop it again, do ya? Ellie bit her lip, looking at the ice. I didn't say that, she muttered. I don't want anything to happen to it. The air grew heavy, and Mickey's ears drooped. Well, fine, he said, crossing his arms. You hold it then, if you're so worried. Baby Yoda cooed sadly, looking between them, and Ellie felt a pang in her chest. I didn't mean it like that, she said, but Mickey turned away, kicking a stone. The path stretched on, and the silence stung more than the rain ever did. Guys, come on, Ellie tried, but Mickey huffed and marched ahead. Baby Yoda tugged her hand, cooing softly, and she nodded. Okay, let's keep up. They followed, but the fun felt far away now. The sun sank lower, painting the sky orange, and the forest grew darker, the shadows stretching long and thin. Ellie walked alone at the back, the ice cold against her skin. She didn't notice Mickey and Baby Yoda turning a corner ahead until they were out of sight. Wait up, she called, but her voice echoed back, unanswered. She ran to catch them, but when she rounded the bend, they were gone. The path was empty, and night was falling fast. Her heart thudded, and she spun around, the ice glowing brighter in the dark. Mickey? Baby Yoda? She shouted, her voice small in the big, quiet woods. No coos, no giggles, just the rustle of leaves and that shadow, flickering again, closer than ever. Episode 6, The Owl's Grumble. Ellie stood frozen on the crystal path, the ice glowing like a tiny moon in her hands as the forest darkened around her. The trees loomed tall and silent, their shadows stretching like fingers across the stones. Mickey? Baby Yoda? She called again, her voice bouncing off the trunks, but only the wind answered, rustling the leaves with a soft, lonely sound. Her heart thumped hard, and she clutched the ice tighter, its chill biting into her palms. They couldn't be far. They'd just been ahead of her, right? Okay, Ellie, don't panic, she whispered to herself, taking a shaky breath. They're probably waiting around the next bend. She started walking, her sneakers crunching on the sparkling stones, the glow of the ice lighting her way. But the path twisted and turned, and every corner she rounded showed nothing but more trees, more shadows. That flicker she'd seen before danced in her mind, and she glanced over her shoulder, half expecting it to pop out. The forest felt bigger now, wilder, like it was swallowing her up. Then she heard it. A low, grumbly hoot, rumbling through the air like a sleepy thunderstorm. Ellie stopped, her ears perking up. "Who's there?" she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The hoot came again, louder, and a pair of glowing yellow eyes blinked open in the branches above her. She jumped back, nearly dropping the ice, but held it tight as a big, feathery shape swooped down, landing on the path with a thud. It was an owl, bigger than any she'd ever seen, with ruffled brown feathers and a beak curved like a grumpy frown. "What's all this racket?" he grumbled, his voice deep and scratchy. "Hollerin' and stompin' around my woods at night. Don't you kids know how to be quiet?" He fluffed his wings, glaring at her with those sharp, golden eyes. Ellie swallowed, standing a little taller. "Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you," she said. "I'm Ellie, and I'm looking for my friends. They were with me, but now they're gone." She held up the ice, its light catching the owl's feathers. "We're trying to figure out what this is. It's special, and I think the forest wants us to keep it safe." The owl tilted his head, squinting at the ice. "Oomph," he huffed, hopping closer. "Summer frost, eh? Haven't seen one of those in ages. Name's Hoot, by the way. I watch these woods, and I don't like trouble." He puffed out his chest, then narrowed his eyes. "Your friends, you say? Little mouse with a bow tie and a green critter with big ears?" "Yes," Ellie said, her heart leaping. "You've seen them?" Hoot nodded, scratching his beak with a claw. "Passed by not long ago, mutterin' about some argument. Went that way." He jerked his head down the path. "But if you want more than that, you'll owe me a favor. I don't spill secrets for free." "A favor?" Ellie asked, tilting her head. "Like what?" Hoot flapped a wing, sending a puff of dust into the air. "Oh, something simple. Fetch me a shiny pebble from the stream tomorrow. I like 'em for my nest. Deal?" Ellie grinned, nodding fast. "Deal. Tell me about the ice too, please. It's why we're here." Hoot grumbled under his breath, like he wasn't thrilled, but settled onto a low branch. "Fine, fine," he said. "That frost? Old magic, tied to the forest's heart. Long ago, it kept things balanced, coolin' summers, warmin' winters. But it's fragile, see? Breaks easy, and folks forgot how to care for it. Left bits of it scattered, like that one you've got. Something's stirrin' now, though. Been feelin' it in my feathers." "Stirring?" Ellie asked, her eyes wide. "Like what Luna said? Something looking for it?" Hoot's eyes sharpened. "That sprite knows her stuff. Yep, something's sniffin' around. Shadows movin' where they shouldn't. You keep that frost close, girl. It's more'n just ice." He flapped his wings again, nodding down the path. "Your pals are that way. Better hurry before they get lost." "Thanks, Hoot," Ellie said, already turning to run. "I'll bring you that pebble, promise." She dashed off, the ice glowing brighter as she went, lighting the twists and turns of the crystal path. Her heart lifted, knowing Mickey and Baby Yoda were close. She shouldn't have let that silly fight split them up. They were a team, and she'd fix it. The path opened into a small clearing, and there they were. Mickey sat on a rock, kicking his feet, while Baby Yoda huddled beside him, cooing softly. "Guys!" Ellie shouted, waving the ice. Mickey's ears perked up, and he hopped off the rock, running toward her. "Ellie! Gosh, we thought you were gone for good." Baby Yoda waddled over too, his big eyes shining as he reached for her. "I'm so sorry," Ellie said, dropping to her knees to hug them both. "I didn't mean to make you feel bad, Mickey. We need you. I just got scared about the ice." Mickey grinned, patting her shoulder. "Aw, shucks, I'm sorry too. I shouldn't have stormed off. We're pals, right?" Baby Yoda cooed, snuggling between them, and Ellie laughed, the knot in her chest unwinding. "Right," she said, standing up. "Hoot the Owl told me this ice is old magic, and something's after it. We've gotta stick together." Mickey nodded fast. "You betcha. No more splitting up." Baby Yoda cooed in agreement, and they turned back to the path, ready to keep going. But then the ice pulsed, its glow flaring brighter than ever, casting light across the clearing. Tiny specks flickered in the air, like stars waking up. "Look!" Ellie gasped, pointing. Fireflies, dozens of them, swirled around them, their golden lights dancing in the dark. They floated ahead, forming a trail that veered off the path into the trees. "Golly, they're showing us something," Mickey said, bouncing on his toes. Baby Yoda cooed, his ears twitching, and Ellie nodded, her pulse racing. "Let's follow them," she said, stepping toward the glow. The fireflies led them deeper, their light warm and inviting, but Hoot's words echoed in her mind. "Something's stirring." And as they walked, the ice hummed louder, like it knew what was coming. Episode 7, Firefly Trails. Ellie followed the fireflies, her sneakers brushing through soft grass as the glowing specks danced ahead, lighting the forest like a trail of tiny lanterns. The ice pulsed gently in her hands, its glow blending with the firefly's golden flicker, making her feel like she was walking through a dream. Mickey Mouse skipped beside her, his bow tie bouncing as he hummed a cheery tune, his earlier grumpiness forgotten. Baby Yoda waddled close, his big eyes reflecting the lights, cooing softly like he was talking to them. "Look at 'em go," Mickey said, clapping his paws. "It's like a parade just for us." Ellie grinned, glancing at him. "Yeah, but where are they taking us?" she asked, her voice full of wonder. The fireflies wove through the trees, darting around trunks and under branches, pulling them deeper into the woods where the crystal path had faded away. The air smelled sweet, like honeysuckle and damp earth, and the night felt alive, buzzing with secrets. "I bet it's somewhere amazing," Mickey said, hopping over a root. "Maybe a castle. Or a candy cave." Baby Yoda cooed, tilting his head, and Ellie laughed. "Candy cave? Really, Mickey?" He winked, twirling an imaginary cane. "Hey, a mouse can dream." She shook her head, but her smile stayed. Having her friends back made everything brighter, even with Hoot's warning about shadows lingering in her mind. The fireflies slowed, circling a clearing where the trees parted to show a massive stone slab half buried in the ground. It was tall as Ellie, covered in moss and vines, with strange carvings etched deep into its surface. The fireflies hovered around it, their light making the carvings glow faintly, like they were waking up. Ellie stopped short, her breath catching. "Whoa," she whispered, stepping closer. "What is this?" Mickey bounced up, squinting at the stone. "Gosh, looks like a big door," he said, tapping it with a paw. "Think it opens?" Baby Yoda cooed, waddling over, and touched the carvings with a tiny hand. The ice in Ellie's hands hummed louder, its glow flaring to match the fireflies, and one carving, a swirl like the symbol they'd seen before, lit up bright as day. "It's gotta be part of the mystery," Ellie said, her heart racing. She traced the swirl with her finger, and it felt warm, tingling under her touch. Maybe the ice unlocks it. She held it closer, but nothing happened. The stone stayed still, stubborn and quiet. Mickey frowned, crossing his arms. "Ah, phooey. We didn't come all this way for a stuck door." "Let's look closer," Ellie said, kneeling to study the carvings. They were all shapes, circles, waves, little stars, looping around like a puzzle. "Maybe there's a trick to it." Baby Yoda cooed, pointing at a small groove near the bottom, just big enough for a paw or a hand. Mickey's ears perked up. "Hey, good eye. Let me try something." Before Ellie could stop him, he stuck his paw in the groove and pushed with all his might, giggling like it was a game. "Mickey, wait." Ellie started, but then a low rumble shook the ground. The stone shivered, vines snapping as it slid sideways, revealing a dark tunnel beneath, its walls glinting with flecks of light. The fireflies swooped in, lighting the way, and Ellie's mouth dropped open. "You did it," she said, grabbing Mickey's shoulder. He grinned, puffing out his chest. "Told ya I'm good at fin-din stuff." Baby Yoda cooed, hopping up and down, and Ellie peered into the tunnel. It smelled cool and earthy, like a cave after rain, and the fireflies' glow showed steps carved into the stone, winding down out of sight. "This must be where the ice wants us to go," she said, her voice echoing softly. But Luna's words flashed back, "Fragile magic, something watching." She glanced around, half expecting that shadow again, but the clearing was empty, just fireflies and moonlight. "Okay, team," she said, taking a deep breath. "We go in together. No rushing ahead, got it?" Mickey nodded fast. "You betcha, Ellie. I'm stickin' like glue." Baby Yoda cooed, grabbing her hand, and she smiled, leading them down the steps. The tunnel was narrow, the walls sparkling with tiny crystals that caught the ice's light, making everything shimmer. Each step felt like walking deeper into a story, one they were writing together. They hadn't gone far when the ice hummed again, louder now, like a song only it could sing. Ellie slowed, holding it up, and the crystals in the walls flickered, pulsing in time with it. "It's talking to this place," she whispered, her eyes wide. Mickey tilted his head. "Golly, it's like the ice knows the way." Baby Yoda cooed, his ears twitching, and pointed deeper into the tunnel, where the fireflies were circling something new. Ellie squinted, her pulse quickening. At the end of the tunnel was a wide chamber, its walls covered in more carvings, bigger and brighter than the ones outside. The fireflies gathered in the center, hovering over a stone pedestal that looked like it was waiting for something. "That's gotta be important," Ellie said, stepping into the chamber. But as she did, the ice's hum grew sharp, almost urgent, and the fireflies scattered, plunging the room into a softer, eerie glow. "What's it doing?" Mickey asked, his voice small. Ellie shook her head, clutching the ice tighter. "I don't know, but it's trying to tell us something." She took another step, and the pedestal glowed faintly, like it felt the ice coming. Baby Yoda cooed, tugging her hand, his eyes fixed on the shadows beyond the pedestal. Ellie followed his gaze, and her stomach tightened. Something moved there, just out of sight, quick and silent like the flicker she'd seen before. "Guys," she whispered, her voice barely audible. We're not alone. The ice hummed louder, the crystals flashed, and the air grew heavy, like the chamber was holding its breath. Whatever was hiding, it was close, and it wasn't ready to show itself yet. Episode 8, The Crystal Echo. Ellie stood in the glowing chamber, her sneakers rooted to the stone floor as the ice hummed in her hands, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. The walls sparkled with crystals, catching the glow and throwing it back in a dance of colors that made the air feel alive. Mickey Mouse huddled close, his ears twitching at every flicker, while Baby Yoda clung to her leg, his big eyes darting toward the shadows beyond the pedestal. The fireflies had scattered, leaving the room dimmer, but the ice and the crystals kept it bright enough to see. Something was here with them, hiding just out of reach. "Did you hear that?" Mickey whispered, his voice wobbling. "Something moved over there." Ellie nodded, her throat tight. "I saw it too," she said, keeping her eyes on the dark corner. The ice's hum grew sharper, almost like a warning, and she held it tighter, its chill sinking deep into her fingers. "Whatever it is, we're not scared, right?" She tried to sound brave, but her heart thumped loud enough to drown out her words. Baby Yoda cooed softly, pressing closer, and Mickey puffed out his chest. "Right. We're tough as nails. Ain't that so, pals?" He gave a shaky grin, and Ellie smiled back, feeling a little stronger with them beside her. "Yeah," she said, taking a step toward the pedestal. "Let's figure this out together." The stone slab glowed faintly, its surface smooth except for a shallow dip in the center, just the right size for the ice. "Maybe it goes here," Ellie said, holding the frost over the dip. The humming softened, like the ice was happy, and the crystals in the walls flickered brighter. She set it down gently, and the moment it touched the stone, a ripple of light spread out, washing over the chamber. The carvings on the walls flared, glowing gold and blue, and a soft sound filled the air, like voices whispering from far away. "Whoa," Ellie breathed, stepping back. The whispers grew clearer, weaving into words she could almost understand. "Protect, fragile, heart," they murmured, echoing around them. Mickey's ears perked up. "Golly, it's talkin'," he said, hopping closer. Baby Yoda cooed, his tiny hand reaching toward the pedestal, and the voices sharpened, calling out a single word loud and clear. "Ellie." She froze, her eyes wide. "Did they just say my name?" she asked, her voice small. The whispers faded, but the crystals kept glowing, and the ice sat snug in the dip, shining like a star. Mickey tilted his head. "Sure did." "How'd they know ya?" Baby Yoda cooed, looking up at her, his big eyes full of questions she couldn't answer. "I don't know," Ellie said, her mind spinning. "Maybe the ice told them. Hoot said it's old magic, tied to the forest. Maybe it's been waiting for me." She reached out, brushing the frost with her fingers, and the voices hummed again, softer now, like a lullaby. "Protect, trust," they sighed, and she felt a warmth in her chest, like the forest was hugging her from the inside. But then the air shifted. A shadow darted across the wall, quick and silent, and the crystals dimmed for a heartbeat. Ellie spun around, scanning the chamber. "There it is again," she said, pointing. Mickey squeaked, ducking behind her. "Gosh, it's sneaky. What's it want?" Baby Yoda cooed, his ears drooping, and shuffled closer to the pedestal, like he was guarding it. "I think it wants the ice," Ellie said, her voice steadying. "Luna and Hoot both said something's after it. We've gotta keep it safe." She stepped toward the pedestal, ready to grab the frost, but before she could, a crystal high on the wall cracked loose. It tumbled down, glinting in the light, and landed with a sharp clink right at her feet, missing her toes by an inch. "Whoa!" Mickey yelped, jumping back. That was close. Ellie stared at the crystal, her pulse racing. It was small, no bigger than her thumb, but it sparkled like the ice, glowing with the same soft light. She picked it up, turning it over in her hand, and the ice on the pedestal pulsed once, like it recognized it. "It's connected," she said, holding them side by side. "They're part of the same magic." The whispers came back, faint and urgent. "Find more," they breathed, then faded into silence. Ellie frowned, looking at her friends. "Find more? More pieces? Is that what we're supposed to do?" Mickey scratched his ear. "Golly, sounds like a treasure hunt. But where do we look?" Baby Yoda cooed, his gaze drifting to the shadows again, and Ellie followed it. The corner was empty now, but the air felt heavy, like something had just slipped away. "Whatever's watching us, it knows too," she said, her voice low. "We need to move fast." She slipped the tiny crystal into her pocket and reached for the ice, but it wouldn't budge. It stuck to the pedestal, glowing brighter, like it wanted to stay. "Huh?" Ellie tugged again, frowning. "It's stuck." Mickey hopped over, peering at it. "Let me try." He pushed and pulled, but the ice didn't move. Baby Yoda cooed, tilting his head, and Ellie stepped back, thinking hard. "Maybe it's supposed to stay here for now," she said. "Like it's safe in this spot." "But what about that shadow?" Mickey asked, his whiskers quivering. "If it comes back, it might nab it." Ellie bit her lip, glancing at the dark. "We'll come back for it," she said. "The voices said to find more. Maybe that's how we protect it." Baby Yoda cooed, nodding slowly, but his eyes stayed on the shadows, like he wasn't so sure. "Okay," Ellie said, taking a deep breath. "Let's follow the fireflies again. They brought us here, so they'll show us what's next." The little lights had gathered near the tunnel's exit, swirling in a gentle circle. She led the way, Mickey and Baby Yoda close behind, but as they stepped out, she couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on her back. The ice glowed on the pedestal behind them, safe for now, but the chamber felt different, like it was waiting for something to happen. And in the shadows, just beyond their sight, a whisper lingered, too quiet to hear. Episode 9, The Missing Piece. Ellie stepped out of the tunnel, the fireflies swirling ahead like a golden thread pulling her back into the forest. The night air brushed her face, cool and damp from the earlier rain, and the trees rustled softly, as if whispering goodnight. Mickey Mouse skipped beside her, his bow tie bobbing with every hop, while Baby Yoda waddled along, his big ears twitching at the sounds of the woods. The ice glowed faintly behind them, safe on the pedestal for now, but its hum lingered in Ellie's mind, tugging at her thoughts. "Gosh, that was a wild cave," Mickey said, spinning in a circle. "Talkin' walls and fallin' crystals. What's next, a singin' tree?" Ellie giggled, patting the tiny crystal in her pocket. "Maybe. But those voices said, find more. I think they meant more pieces like this one." She held it up, its light twinkling like a star caught in her hand. Baby Yoda cooed, reaching for it, and she let him hold it, his little fingers curling around it gently. "More pieces, huh?" Mickey said, tapping his chin. "Like a big puzzle. We're getting good at this adventure stuff." Ellie nodded, her curls bouncing. Yeah, and if we find them, maybe we can figure out how to keep the ice safe for good. She glanced back at the tunnel, half hidden by vines now, and felt a shiver. That shadow was still out there, watching, waiting. They had to hurry. The fireflies led them deeper into the woods, their glow weaving through bushes and over roots, until a familiar chittering broke the quiet. Well, look who's back, a twitchy voice called, and Sam the squirrel scampered down a tree, his bushy tail flicking. Thought you drowned in that stream, but here you are, chasing fireflies like a pack of glow bugs. Hi, Sam. Ellie said, grinning. We didn't drown, we found a cave. The ice fit in a pedestal, and the walls talked to us. Mickey nodded fast. Yeah, and the crystal fell right out of nowhere. Look. He pointed at Baby Yoda, who held up the shard proudly. Sam's eyes widened, and he hopped closer, sniffing it. That's no ordinary rock, he said. That's a frost shard. Part of your ice, I bet my best acorn. A frost shard? Ellie asked, leaning in. You mean it broke off the ice? Sam nodded, crossing his tiny arms. Yep. Long ago, the summer frost was whole, big as a boulder. Kept the forest happy. But it split, see? Pieces scattered all over. That pedestal you found? It's where the big piece belongs, but it won't stay put without the rest. Ellie's heart skipped. So we need all the shards to make it whole again? Sam flicked his tail. Bingo, kid. Find them, fit them, and the frost'll be strong. But good luck. They're tricky to spot, and the forests don't give them up easy. Mickey tilted his head. Ah, we're tricky too. Where's the next one? Sam chuckled, pointing a claw toward a thicket of trees. Heard a rumor about a shard near the old oak grove. Shiny thing, glimmers in the moonlight. Start there, but watch your step. Something's been rustling around lately, and it ain't friendly squirrels. Ellie's stomach tightened, thinking of the shadow, but she nodded. Thanks, Sam. We'll check it out. The fireflies floated toward the grove, and Ellie led the way, her friends close behind. The trees grew thicker, their branches tangling overhead, and the moonlight slipped through in silver patches, painting the ground in soft light. Keep your eyes peeled, she said, scanning the shadows. It could be anywhere. Mickey hopped ahead, peering under bushes, while Baby Yoda toddled along, holding the shard like a tiny lantern. They reached the grove, a circle of ancient oaks with gnarled trunks and roots twisting up like old hands. The fireflies swirled around one tree, its bark rough and knotted, and Ellie squinted, spotting a faint glimmer near its base. There, she said, rushing over. Nestled in a hollow between the roots was another shard, small and sharp, glowing like the one in her pocket. We found it, she cheered, reaching for it. But as her fingers brushed it, a rustle shook the leaves above. She froze, looking up, and Mickey whispered, "Oh, what's that?" Baby Yoda cooed, his ears flattening, and the fireflies dimmed, scattering into the branches. The rustling stopped, and for a heartbeat, everything was still. Then a twig snapped behind them, loud and close. Ellie spun around, clutching the new shard. "Who's there?" she called, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. No answer, just the wind sighing through the oaks. Mickey stepped closer, his whiskers quivering. "Gosh, I don't like this quiet," he said. Baby Yoda cooed, pointing at the trees, and Ellie followed his gaze. A shadow flickered, quick as a blink, slipping between the trunks. "It's that thing again," she said, her pulse racing. "It knows we're here." She slipped the shard into her pocket with the other, her hands shaky. "We've got two now. Let's get back to the ice before it tries anything." Mickey nodded fast. "Righto, Ellie. I'm all for not sticking around." Baby Yoda cooed, grabbing her hand, and they turned to leave. But the fireflies didn't follow. They hovered over the grove, their light pulsing oddly, and the air grew heavy, like a storm was brewing. Ellie took a step, then stopped. A low hum rose from her pocket, where the shards glowed brighter, matching the ice's song from the cave. "They're talking to each other," she whispered, pulling them out. The shards sparkled, their light reaching toward the tunnel they'd left behind. "Maybe they want us to go back," Mickey said, tilting his head. Ellie nodded, but before she could answer, the shadow moved again, closer this time, its edges sharp against the moonlight. It didn't make a sound, but she felt it watching, waiting. "Run," she said, grabbing Baby Yoda and bolting toward the tunnel, Mickey right behind her. The grove blurred past, the fireflies finally trailing after them, and Ellie's heart pounded as they raced through the trees. The shards hummed louder, guiding her back to the ice, but the shadow kept pace, a silent hunter in the dark. Whatever it wasn't giving up. Episode 10, The Shard Hunt. Ellie sprinted through the forest, her sneakers pounding the dirt as the fireflies flickered behind her, lighting the way back to the tunnel. The two frost shards glowed in her pocket, humming a steady tune that matched the beat of her heart. Mickey Mouse raced beside her, his little legs a blur, his bow tie flapping wildly. Baby Yoda clung to her arm, his big ears bouncing with every step, cooing fast like he was cheering her on. The shadow loomed in her mind, a silent flicker chasing them through the trees, and she pushed harder, determined to reach the ice before it caught up. "Gosh, Ellie, you're fast!" Mickey panted, dodging a root. "That spooky thing's not gonna get us, right?" Ellie glanced back, the oaks fading into the dark, but she couldn't see it. "Not if we keep moving," she said, her voice firm. The fireflies swirled ahead, guiding them toward the stone slab, and she felt a spark of hope. The ice was close, and with two shards, they were one step nearer to making it whole. They burst into the clearing, the tunnel entrance waiting like an open mouth in the moonlight. Ellie skidded to a stop, catching her breath, and Mickey flopped onto the grass, giggling. "Hot dog, we made it," he said, fanning himself with a paw. Baby Yoda cooed, sliding down to sit beside him, and Ellie smiled, pulling the shards from her pocket. "Yeah, but we're not done," she said, holding them up. "These have to fit with the ice. Let's check it out." She led them back down the tunnel steps, the crystals in the walls winking as the shards' glow brushed past. The chamber opened up ahead, and there it was, the ice still shining on the pedestal, its light steady and bright. Ellie stepped closer, her pulse slowing. "It's okay," she said, mostly to herself. "Nothing got it." Mickey peeked over her shoulder. "Good thing too. That's our treasure." Baby Yoda cooed, toddling to the pedestal, and Ellie held the shards over the ice. They hummed louder, their light blending with the frost, but there was no slot, no click, just a soft shimmer. "Huh," she said, frowning. "They're part of it, but they don't fit yet. Maybe we need all the pieces first." Mickey tilted his head. "Like a big ice cake? Gotta get all the slices." Ellie laughed, nodding. "Exactly. Sam said they're scattered around." We've got to, so let's hunt for more. Baby Yoda cooed, pointing at the tunnel exit, and the fireflies gathered there, swirling like they agreed. They're still helping, Ellie said, tucking the shards back in her pocket. Come on, team. She turned to leave, but Mickey grabbed her arm, his ears twitching. Wait a sec, he said, his voice dropping. What if that shadow's waiting out there? It's been sneaky all night. Ellie paused, her stomach flipping. He was right. It hadn't given up. We'll be careful, she said, meeting his eyes. But we can't stop now. The ice needs us. Mickey gulped, then grinned. Okay, Ellie. I trust ya. Baby Yoda cooed, grabbing her hand, and they stepped out together, the fireflies leading the way. The forest stretched dark and quiet, the moonlight painting silver streaks across the leaves. The fireflies floated toward a new path, narrower than the crystal trail, winding past a trickling brook. This way, Ellie said, following their glow. But as they walked, Mickey started chattering again, his voice bouncing off the trees. Bet the next shard's in a bird's nest. Or maybe a frog's got it. Ooh, what if it's underwater? Mickey, Ellie said, glancing at him. You're gonna scare it away with all that noise. He blinked, then giggled. Ah, gee, I'm just excited. You're the boss, though. I'll zip it. But 2 steps later, he tripped over a stone, tumbling into Ellie with a yelp. She stumbled, catching herself, but glared back. Mickey, come on. We've gotta focus. His ears drooped, and he mumbled, Sorry, Ellie. Didn't mean to. Baby Yoda cooed sadly, looking between them, and Ellie sighed, softening. It's okay, she said. Just, let's keep going, all right? Mickey nodded, quieter now, and they pressed on, the brook gurgling beside them. The fireflies stopped over a patch of reeds, their light glinting off something small and shiny nestled in the mud. Another shard, Ellie said, rushing over. It was tiny, glowing like the others, and she scooped it up, brushing off the dirt. 3 now, she cheered, holding it high. Mickey clapped, bouncing back. Hot diggity! We're shard champs! Baby Yoda cooed, clapping too, and Ellie slipped it into her pocket with the others. The hum grew stronger, a happy little song, and she grinned. We're getting close, she said. I can feel it. But before they could celebrate, a gust of wind ripped through the reeds, sharp and sudden, snatching the shard right from her open hand. It flew up, tumbling in the air, and vanished into the trees. No! Ellie gasped, reaching after it. The wind laughed, a high, playful sound, and the fireflies scattered, chasing it. It took it! Mickey cried, his eyes wide. What kind of wind does that? Baby Yoda cooed, pointing where it went, and Ellie clenched her fists. Not just wind, she said, her voice tight. Something's playing with us. The trees rustled, the shards glow winking through the leaves, and the wind giggled again, tugging them deeper into the dark. Come on, Ellie said, breaking into a run. We're getting that back. Mickey and Baby Yoda followed, the fireflies darting ahead, and the forest turned into a game of chase, the wind leading them on a wild, twisting hunt. But as they ran, Ellie couldn't shake the feeling that the shadow was still there, watching from the edges, waiting for its chance. Episode 11, The Wind Thief. Ellie raced through the forest, her curls bouncing as she chased the giggling wind that had snatched the frost shard from her hand. The fireflies zipped ahead, their golden glow darting between trees, trying to keep up with the tiny, shimmering speck tumbling in the breeze. Mickey Mouse stumbled behind her, his bow tie flapping, shouting, "Gosh, it's fast!" Baby Yoda clung to her shoulder, his little claws gripping tight, cooing with every twist and turn like he was telling her to hurry. "Don't let it get away," Ellie called, ducking under a branch. The wind laughed again, high and playful, swirling leaves around them like a teasing dance. It wasn't just air, she knew that now. It was something alive, something tricky, and it had their shard. The other two pieces hummed in her pocket, pulling her toward the third, and she pushed harder, her sneakers slipping on the damp earth. The trees thinned ahead, opening into a meadow where tall grass swayed under the moonlight. The wind spun there, a twirling gust that glittered with the shard caught in its center. Ellie skidded to a stop, panting, and squinted at it. "Look," she said, pointing. The gust slowed, and a shape formed inside it, small and wispy, with arms and legs like a tiny person made of air. Its eyes sparkled, and it giggled, tossing the shard up and catching it again. "Hot dog," Mickey said, hopping beside her. "It's a wind sprite or something." Baby Yoda cooed, tilting his head, and the sprite spun closer, hovering just out of reach. "Hello, hello," it chirped, its voice like a whistle. "Finders keepers, huh? This shiny thing's mine now." It twirled the shard, grinning wide. "No way," Ellie said, stepping forward. "I'm Ellie, and that's ours. We need it to help the summer frost. Give it back." The sprite tilted its head, its wispy hair fluttering. "Summer frost, you say? I like games, not giving. Catch me if you can." It zipped upward, the shard glinting, and darted across the meadow, leaving a trail of swirling grass. "Ah, phooey!" Mickey groaned, kicking the dirt. "It's playin', keep away." Ellie clenched her fists, her mind racing. "We'll outsmart it," she said. "It likes games, so let's play one." Baby Yoda cooed, hopping down, and she knelt beside him. "Mickey, you're fast. Chase it that way." "Baby Yoda, stay with me. We'll trap it." Mickey saluted, grinning. "You got it, Ellie." He bolted left, his little legs pumping, shouting, "Hey, wind bug, over here." The sprite giggled, swooping toward him, and Ellie grabbed Baby Yoda's hand, creeping right. The meadow stretched wide, dotted with wildflowers, and the fireflies followed, lighting their plan. The sprite spun around Mickey, tossing the shard between its hands, too busy teasing to notice Ellie closing in. "Now," she whispered, and Baby Yoda cooed, raising his tiny arms. The air shivered, just like it had at the stream, and the wind slowed, wobbling the sprite mid-spin. "Hey, no fair," it squeaked, dropping lower, and Ellie lunged, her fingers brushing the shard. It slipped, but she caught it, tumbling into the grass with a laugh. "Got it!" Mickey cheered, racing over, and Baby Yoda clapped, cooing happily. The sprite huffed, crossing its airy arms. "Spoil sports," it said, but its eyes twinkled. "Fine, you win. That green one's got tricks." It nodded at Baby Yoda, who cooed shyly, and Ellie stood, brushing off her knees. "Thanks for the game," she said, holding the shard tight. "But this is important. The frost needs it." The sprite floated closer, its grin softening. "I know," it said, its voice quieter. "I guard things too. That shard's been here a while, waitin' for someone. Guess it's you." Ellie blinked, surprised. You were protecting it? The sprite nodded, twirling once. Yep. Forrest told me to. But something else wants it, something dark. Been blowing around, sniffing. Watch out, okay? Ellie's stomach tightened, thinking of the shadow. We will, she said, slipping the shard into her pocket with the others. They hummed together, a happy little chorus, and she smiled at the sprite. Thanks for keeping it safe. It winked, giggling again. Anytime. You're fun. With a final swirl, it zipped upward, vanishing into the night sky. Golly, that was a hoot. Mickey said, fanning himself. We're 3 for 3 now. Baby Yoda cooed, tugging Ellie's hand, and she nodded, looking toward the tunnel. Yeah, but we need to get these to the ice, she said. Let's head back. The fireflies gathered, leading them through the meadow, and the forest welcomed them with a gentle rustle. But as they walked, the sky growled, a low rumble rolling over the trees. Ellie glanced up, her curls fluttering in a sudden breeze. Dark clouds crept in, blotting out the moon, and the air grew thick, heavy with the promise of a storm. Oh, Mickey said, his ears drooping. That don't sound friendly. Baby Yoda cooed, pressing closer, and Ellie frowned, clutching her pocket where the shards glowed. We need shelter, she said, scanning the woods. The fireflies darted toward a massive tree ahead, its trunk hollowed out like a giant's doorway. There, she said, breaking into a run. Thunder cracked, louder now, and raindrops started to fall, fat and cold against her skin. They piled into the hollow, squeezing together as the storm roared to life outside, shaking the leaves with its fury. Ellie pulled the shards out, their light warm in the dark space. We're okay, she said, catching her breath. We've got 3. That's gotta mean something. Mickey nodded, shaking water from his ears. Sure does. We're unstoppable. Baby Yoda cooed, curling up beside her, and she smiled, but her eyes drifted to the storm beyond the tree. Lightning flashed, and for a split second, she saw it, a shadow sharper than the rest, standing in the rain, watching them. It was gone when the thunder rolled, but her heart thudded hard. The wind sprite's warning echoed in her ears. Something dark. Something close. And it wasn't done with them yet. Episode 12, Storm and Shelter. Ellie huddled inside the hollow tree, the 3 frost shards glowing softly in her hands as the storm raged outside. Rain pounded the forest, drumming against the trunk like 1,000 tiny fists, while thunder growled low and deep, shaking the ground beneath them. Mickey Mouse pressed close, his bow tie dripping wet, his big eyes darting to the flashes of lightning beyond the opening. Baby Yoda curled up in her lap, his ears tucked down, cooing quietly as the wind howled through the branches. Gosh, this storm's a doozy, Mickey said, wringing his paws. Good thing we found this hideout, huh? Ellie nodded, her curls plastered to her cheeks from their dash through the rain. Yeah, she said, holding the shards tighter. We're safe here. And we've got 3 pieces now. That's half the puzzle, maybe. The shards hummed a gentle tune, their light warm against the damp chill, and she smiled, tracing their edges with her thumb. Baby Yoda cooed, nuzzling her hand, and she patted his head. You're right, she said. We're doing good. But that shadow, it's still out there. She glanced at the opening, where rain streaked down like a curtain, and shivered, remembering its shape in the lightning. Mickey gulped, scooting closer. Ah, gee, don't say that. Maybe it's just a big ol' raccoon, looking for snacks. Ellie giggled, shaking her head. A raccoon that follows us everywhere? I don't think so. The wind sprite said something dark wants the frost. We've gotta be ready. Mickey tilted his head, then grinned. Well, we're tough. We beat that windy thief, didn't we? Baby Yoda cooed, nodding, and Ellie's smile grew. Yeah, we did. Together. The storm roared on, but inside the hollow, it felt cozy, like a secret clubhouse just for them. Ellie tucked the shards into her pocket and leaned back against the wood, its rough bark steady behind her. You know, she said, her voice soft, this adventure's been wild. Caves, sprites, talking owls. What do you guys think we'll find next? Mickey's ears perked up, and he sat straighter. Ooh, maybe a dragon. A nice one, with shiny scales. I'd ask it for a ride. A dragon? Ellie laughed, picturing Mickey zooming through the sky. That'd be something. What about you, Baby Yoda? He cooed, tilting his head, and tapped her hand with a tiny claw, like he was pointing at her. Me? She asked, blinking. You think I'll find something? He cooed again, his big eyes shining, and she felt a flutter in her chest. Okay, maybe a secret garden, she said. Full of flowers that glow like the ice. Mickey clapped his paws. Hot dog, I'd pick some from my glade. What's your big dream, Ellie? Besides Savon, the frost? She paused, thinking. The storm rumbled, and she hugged her knees, the shards humming faintly. I guess. I want us to stay friends, she said. Even after this. You're the best team I've ever had. Mickey's grin softened, and he patted her arm. Aw, shucks, we're pals forever. Right, Baby Yoda? He cooed loud, snuggling closer, and Ellie laughed, the warmth chasing away the storm's chill. But then a gust swept through the hollow, sharp and quick, and the air tingled. Ellie sat up, her smile fading. Did you feel that? She asked. Mickey's ears twitched, and Baby Yoda cooed, pointing outside. The rain parted for a moment, and there it was, the wind sprite, spinning just beyond the tree, its wispy shape glowing in the dark. Hey, hey, it called, its voice cutting through the thunder. Got something for ya. Ellie leaned forward, squinting. You're back, she said, and the sprite zipped closer, holding out the frost shard it had taken before. Yep, it chirped. Thought you earned it, fair and square. Plus, the forest says you're good keepers. It dropped the shard into her hands, giggling as it twirled. Take it, but hurry. Storms waken things up. Thanks, Ellie said, clutching it tight. The 3 shards in her pocket pulsed, welcoming the 4th, and their hum grew stronger, like a song with a new note. For now. Mickey cheered, bouncing. We're shard huntin' champs. Baby Yoda cooed, clapping, and the sprite winked. Keep them safe, huh? See ya. It spun upward, vanishing into the rain. Ellie grinned, slipping the shard with the others, but the sprite's words stuck. Waking things up, she murmured, looking out at the storm. Lightning flashed, and the forest glowed white for a heartbeat, shadows dancing in the trees. What's out there? Mickey asked, his voice small. Ellie shook her head, unsure, but the shard's hum shifted, sharper now, like they felt it too. Let's wait it out, she said, pulling her friends close. The storm can't last forever. They nodded, settling in, and the hollow wrapped around them, a safe little world against the wild night. But as the thunder rolled, Ellie's eyes stayed on the opening, where the rain shimmered and the shadows stirred. The sprite had helped, but something else was moving, something big, and it was getting closer. The ice waited in the chamber, and the shards sang in her pocket, pulling her toward the end of their quest. But the storm wasn't just rain, she knew that now. It was a sign, a drumbeat for whatever came next, and they'd have to face it together. Episode 13, The Pulse of Magic. Ellie sat cross-legged in the hollow tree, the 4 frost shards glowing in her lap as the storm began to quiet outside. The rain softened to a gentle patter, and the thunder rolled away, leaving the forest hushed and dripping. Mickey Mouse leaned against her, his bow tie finally drying, humming a little tune while Baby Yoda dozed in her arms, his tiny coos blending with the shards' hum. The air felt lighter now, but Ellie's heart still buzzed, the wind sprite's warning echoing in her ears. Something was waking up. Gosh, that was a big storm, Mickey said, stretching his paws. Think it's safe to peek out? Ellie nodded, shifting Baby Yoda gently so she could stand. Yeah, let's see, she said, slipping the shards into her pocket. Their glow pulsed through the fabric, steady and warm, like a compass pointing her forward. She stepped to the opening, peering into the night. The trees glistened with raindrops, and the fireflies were back, floating lazily over the grass, their light soft and golden. Looks okay, she said, turning to her friends. The storm's gone, and the shards are humming like they want us to move. Mickey hopped up, grinning. Hot dog. Back to the ice, then? Baby Yoda stirred, cooing as he rubbed his eyes, and Ellie smiled, lifting him to her shoulder. Yep. Let's see what 4 shards can do. They stepped out, the wet earth squishing under Ellie's sneakers, and the fireflies led them through the woods, their trail winding back toward the tunnel. The forest felt different now, alive in a new way, like it was stretching after a long nap. Flowers peeked out from the grass, their petals glowing faintly, even though it was summer and they shouldn't bloom like that. Whoa, Ellie whispered, kneeling by a tiny blue blossom. These weren't here before. Mickey tilted his head, sniffing one. Golly, they're pretty. Maybe the storm woke them up. Baby Yoda cooed, reaching for a flower, and its glow brightened under his touch. Ellie's pocket hummed louder, and she pulled out the shards, their light matching the blossoms. It's the frost magic, she said, her eyes wide. It's doing this. Goot said it keeps the forest balanced, right? Yeah. Mickey said, bouncing. We're fixin' it, shard by shard. Ellie grinned, standing up. Then let's keep going. The ice is waiting. The fireflies floated ahead, and they followed, the glowing flowers lighting their path like a fairy tale come to life. But as they neared the tunnel, a familiar tinkle rippled through the air, and Luna the river sprite rose from a puddle, her silvery hair shimmering in the moonlight. Ellie! Luna called, her voice like a chime. You're close now. Ellie waved, running over. Hi, Luna. We've got 4 shards. Look. She held them up, and Luna's eyes sparkled. Oh, beautiful, she said, floating closer. You're near the forest's heart. That's where the frost belongs, where it can heal everything. The heart? Ellie asked, tilting her head. Where's that? Luna pointed past the tunnel, toward a clearing where the trees parted wide. There, she said. The frost's magic is waking it. Those flowers? They're just the start. But be careful. The storm stirred something big, something old. It's coming. Ellie's stomach flipped, thinking of the shadow. Something big, she said. Like what? Luna's glow dimmed, and she glanced around, her voice low. A guardian, maybe? Or something that wants the frost gone. I can't see it yet, but it's near. Mickey gulped, stepping closer. Gosh, I hope it's friendly. Baby Yoda cooed, his ears twitching, and Ellie nodded, clutching the shards. Thanks, Luna, she said. We'll watch out. Luna smiled, sinking back into the puddle. You're brave, all of you. Hurry now. She vanished with a ripple, and Ellie turned to her friends. To the clearing, she said, her voice steady. That's where it all happens. Mickey saluted, grinning. Righto, Ellie. Baby Yoda cooed, and they followed the fireflies, the flowers glowing brighter with every step. The clearing opened up ahead, a wide circle of grass ringed by tall trees, their branches swaying gently. In the center stood a stone circle, old and mossy, with a shallow basin carved into it. The shards hummed louder, pulling Ellie forward, and the fireflies swirled around the basin, their light pulsing like a heartbeat. This is it, she said, stepping into the circle. The forest's heart. She set the shards in the basin, and they glowed brighter, their hum filling the air with a soft, happy song. The flowers around them flared, painting the clearing in blue and gold, and the ground trembled, just a little, like it was waking up. Whoa! Mickey said, grabbing her arm. It's workin'. Baby Yoda cooed, hopping up and down, and Ellie laughed, her heart soaring. We're so close. But then the air thickened, and the fireflies scattered, dimming fast. A low rumble shook the trees, deeper than thunder, and Ellie spun around, her smile fading. What's that? She asked, her voice small. The shards pulsed sharper, like a warning, and Baby Yoda cooed, pointing at the shadows beyond the clearing. Something moved there, big and slow, its shape blurred by the dark. Mickey, stay close, Ellie said, pulling him in. The rumble grew, and the ground quaked again, stronger now. Leaves rustled, branches snapped, and a figure stepped into the moonlight, towering over the trees. It was huge, made of vines and stone, with eyes like glowing embers, and it stared right at them, silent and still. Golly, Mickey whispered, his whiskers trembling. That's no raccoon. Baby Yoda cooed, hiding behind Ellie, and she clutched the shards, her pulse racing. The forest's heart glowed behind her, but this thing, whatever it was, wasn't here to help. It was here for them. Episode 14, The Heart's Keeper. Ellie stood in the glowing clearing, the 4 frost shards humming in the stone basin behind her as the giant figure loomed at the edge of the trees. It was massive, taller than the tallest oak, its body a tangle of vines and mossy stones, with arms like twisted branches and eyes that glowed red-orange, warm but stern. The ground quaked with each step it took, slow and heavy, and the air buzzed with a power Ellie could feel in her bones. Mickey Mouse clung to her arm, his bow tie trembling, whispering, "Gosh, it's huge." Baby Yoda peeked out from behind her legs, cooing softly, his big ears flat against his head. "Don't move," Ellie said, her voice low but steady. The shards pulsed in the basin, their light washing over the clearing, making the flowers glow brighter, and the giant stopped, its fiery eyes fixed on them. It didn't speak, but the wind rustled through its vines, carrying a sound like a deep, rumbling sigh. Ellie's heart pounded, but she stepped forward, lifting her chin. "We're not here to hurt anything," she said. "We're helping the frost." The giant tilted its head, a slow creak echoing from its stony joints, and the ground settled, the quake fading. Mickey gulped, peeking out. "Think it understands us?" he asked, his voice a squeak. Baby Yoda cooed, toddling closer to Ellie, and she nodded, keeping her eyes on the creature. "Maybe," she said. "It's not attacking. That's a good sign, right?" Before she could say more, a familiar giggle swirled through the air, and the wind sprite spun down from the trees, hovering between them and the giant. "Hiya, hiya," it chirped, twirling fast. "Don't be scared. This big lug's the heart's keeper. Watches the forest, keeps it safe." Ellie blinked, her shoulders relaxing a little. "The heart's keeper?" she asked. "So it's friendly?" The sprite nodded, giggling. "Yep, mostly. Likes to test folks, though. You've got the shards, so it's curious." The giant rumbled again, a sound like rocks rolling down a hill, and took another step, its vines brushing the grass. The flowers bent toward it, glowing brighter, and Ellie felt the shards hum shift, like they were saying hello. "Okay," she said, taking a deep breath. "I'm Ellie, this is Mickey and Baby Yoda. We found the frost and 4 shards. We're trying to make it whole again." She pointed at the basin, where the light pulsed strong and steady. The giant's eyes flickered, and it knelt, slow and careful, bringing its massive face closer. Up close, Ellie saw bits of earth and tiny leaves woven into its form, like it was part of the forest itself. "Golly," Mickey whispered, stepping out. "It's like a walking garden." Baby Yoda cooed, waving a tiny hand, and the giant's eyes softened, the glow warming to a gentle amber. It reached out, one huge, leafy hand hovering over the basin, and the shards flared, their song filling the clearing with a melody that made Ellie's heart lift. "It likes them," she said, smiling. "We're doing the right thing." The wind sprite spun around her, laughing. "Told ya. It's been waiting for someone to care. But it's got a test, see? Prove you're brave enough." Ellie frowned, glancing at her friends. "A test? What kind?" The giant rumbled, standing tall again, and the ground shook as it pointed one branchy arm toward the trees. A path opened, the flowers parting to show a trail of glowing vines leading into the dark. "Go there," the sprite said, its voice dropping low. "Bring back the last shard. It's tricky, but you're tricky too." Ellie's stomach flipped, but she nodded. "Okay. We can do that." Mickey puffed out his chest, grinning. "You betcha. We're test-passing, champs." Baby Yoda cooed, hopping up, and Ellie turned to the giant. "We'll get it," she said, her voice firm. "We'll prove it." The keeper's eyes glowed bright, and it stepped aside, letting them pass. The wind sprite giggled, zipping ahead. "Good luck, pals. I'll watch from up here." Ellie led the way down the vine path, the shards in the basin humming behind her, their light stretching to guide them. The trees closed in, the air thick with the smell of wet earth and blooming flowers, and the trail twisted deeper, glowing faintly. "Keep your eyes open," she said, her sneakers crunching on the vines. The last shard's close. They hadn't gone far when the path ended at a small pool, its water still and clear, reflecting the moonlight like a mirror. In the center, half submerged, glowed the 5th shard, sharp and bright, calling to the others in her pocket. "There it is," Ellie said, stepping closer. But as she reached for it, the water rippled, and the shard sank deeper, just out of reach. "Ah, phooey," Mickey said, leaning over. It's playing hide and seek. Baby Yoda cooed, dipping a claw in, and the water shimmered, but the shard stayed down. Ellie frowned, thinking hard. It's the test, she said. We've gotta be brave. She took a breath, kicked off her sneakers, and waded in, the cold biting her legs. I'll get it. The pool was deeper than it looked, the water climbing to her waist, then her chest. Mickey called, "Careful, Ellie," but she kept going, her fingers brushing the shard. It slipped away, and she dove, eyes open in the dark water, grabbing it tight. She burst up, gasping, and held it high, laughing. Got it! But as she climbed out, the ice back in the basin pulsed loud, and a tiny crack split its edge, faint but real. Ellie froze, the shard dripping in her hand. "Oh no," she whispered, her heart sinking. Mickey's eyes widened. "Gosh, it's breaking!" Baby Yoda cooed sadly, and the giant rumbled, its eyes flaring red again, watching them from the clearing. "We've got the last shard," Ellie said, her voice shaking. "But what's happening to the ice?" Episode 15, The Final Fit. Ellie stood dripping by the pool, the fifth frost shard glowing in her hand as she stared back at the clearing, where the ice pulsed on the stone basin. The tiny crack along its edge glinted in the moonlight, sharp and thin, like a thread of worry woven into their adventure. Mickey Mouse hopped beside her, his bow tie drooping as he wrung his paws. "Gosh, Ellie, it's cracking! What do we do?" Baby Yoda cooed sadly, his big ears flat, clinging to her leg as the Heart's Keeper watched from the trees, its ember eyes steady and unreadable. "We've got all 5 shards," Ellie said, her voice trembling but firm. "We can fix it. We have to." She clutched the wet shard tighter, its hum blending with the others in her pocket, and took a deep breath, the cold water dripping from her clothes. "Come on," she said, leading them back down the vine path, her sneakers squishing with every step. The flowers glowed around them, their light flickering like they felt the ice's trouble too. The giant keeper stepped aside as they reached the clearing, its vines rustling softly, and Ellie ran to the basin, her heart pounding. The ice sat there, its glow dimmer now, the crack spidering out a little more, delicate and dangerous. "Oh no," she whispered, kneeling beside it. "It's getting worse." Mickey peeked over her shoulder, his whiskers quivering. "Can the shards patch it up?" Baby Yoda cooed, reaching for the ice, and its light flared under his touch, like it was asking for help. "Let's try," Ellie said, pulling the 4 shards from her pocket. They shimmered, each one humming a note that wove into a song, and she held them over the ice, her hands shaky. "Please work," she murmured, setting them down one by one around the crack. The 5th shard, still wet from the pool, went last, and as it touched the ice, a burst of light erupted, bright and warm, washing over the clearing like a sunrise. "Whoa!" Mickey shouted, shielding his eyes. Baby Yoda cooed loud, hopping up and down, and the giant rumbled, its eyes softening to a golden glow. The shards melted into the ice, their edges blurring, and the crack glowed, knitting itself shut with a soft, tinkling sound. The ice grew brighter, whole again, and its hum turned into a melody, clear and happy, filling the air with magic. "It's fixed!" Ellie cheered, clapping her hands. The flowers flared, painting the clearing in gold and blue, and the ground trembled, not with fear this time, but with life. The keeper stepped closer, its massive hand hovering over the basin, and a deep voice rolled out, slow and warm, like stones singing. "You've done well," it said. "The frost is whole. The heart is safe." Ellie's mouth dropped open, and Mickey giggled, bouncing. Hot dog, it talks. Did you hear that, Ellie? Baby Yoda cooed, waving at the giant, and she nodded, her chest swelling with pride. Yeah, she said, looking up at it. You're the guardian, right? You were testing us? The keeper nodded, its vines swaying. To protect the frost, you needed courage, it said. And trust. You showed both. It knelt, bringing its face level with hers, and Ellie saw tiny flowers blooming in its mossy cracks, glowing like the ones around them. The summer frost keeps the forest alive, it went on. Long ago, it broke, and we waited for someone to mend it. That's you. Us, Ellie said, smiling at Mickey and Baby Yoda. We did it together. The giant's eyes twinkled, and it touched the ice with one leafy finger. The light flared again, and the basin shivered, sinking into the ground with a soft thud. The ice pulsed once more, then settled, its glow steady and strong, rooted in the heart of the forest. It stays here, the keeper said. Safe now. But its magic will grow, thanks to you. Ellie tilted her head, curious. Grow how? The giant stood, pointing at the flowers. See for yourself, it said, and the clearing shimmered, more blossoms sprouting from the grass, their light spreading into the trees like a wave. Golly, it's beautiful. Mickey said, spinning in a circle. Baby Yoda cooed, picking a flower and holding it up, its glow reflecting in his big eyes. Ellie laughed, her wet clothes forgotten, but then she noticed the ice again. Another tiny crack had appeared, faint and new, along its side. Wait, she said, pointing. It's cracking again. The keeper rumbled, its voice calm. It's fragile still, it said. Magic like this always is. It'll need care, always. But you've given it strength. Ellie frowned, stepping closer. So it might break someday? The giant nodded, slow and wise. Maybe. But not today. You've earned its trust. Mickey tugged her sleeve, grinning. Ah, we'll visit it lots. Keep it happy. Baby Yoda cooed, nodding, and Ellie smiled, though her heart twisted a little. Yeah, she said. We will. The keeper stepped back, its form blending into the trees, and the wind sprite spun down, giggling. Nice job, pals, it said. Forests singing now. You're heroes. Thanks, Ellie said, waving as it zipped away. The clearing glowed, peaceful and bright, but that new crack nagged at her. The frost was safe, but not forever. She looked at her friends, their faces shining with the magic they'd made, and took a deep breath. Let's go home, she said. We've got a story to tell. But as they turned to leave, the ice pulsed one last time, and a whisper floated out, too soft to catch, like a secret waiting for another day. Episode 16, Summer's Promise. Ellie stood in the glowing clearing, the summer frost shimmering in the stone basin, its light soft and steady now that the 5 shards had made it whole. The tiny crack still glinted along its edge, a quiet reminder of its fragility, but the forest hummed with life around it, flowers blooming in waves of gold and blue under the fading moonlight. Mickey Mouse spun in circles, his bow tie twirling as he laughed, while Baby Yoda toddled through the grass, picking blossoms and cooing happily. The Heart's Keeper had melted back into the trees, its warm rumble a memory, and the air felt peaceful, like a hug from the woods itself. Gosh, Ellie, we did it! Mickey said, flopping onto his back beside her. The frost's safe, the forest's happy, and we're heroes. Ellie grinned, sitting next to him, her wet clothes sticking to her skin from the pool but warm now in the glow. "Yeah," she said, looking at the ice. "We really did. It's beautiful, isn't it?" Baby Yoda waddled over, offering her a flower, and she took it, tucking it behind her ear. "Thanks, pal," she said, patting his head. The fireflies floated around them, their golden lights dancing like tiny stars, and the wind sprite zipped down one last time, giggling. "Hiya, heroes," it chirped, spinning over the basin. "Frost's singing now, all because of you. Forest'll remember this." Ellie waved, smiling. "We'll remember too," she said. "Thanks for helping us." The sprite winked, twirling upward. "Anytime. See ya, round." It vanished into the sky, leaving a trail of sparkles that faded into the night. Ellie leaned back, the grass cool against her hands, and watched the ice. Its hum had softened, a lullaby weaving through the clearing, and the flowers pulsed with it, like the forest was breathing easy again. "It's staying here," she said, her voice quiet. "The keeper said it's safe now, but we've gotta check on it sometimes, right?" Mickey nodded fast, sitting up. "You betcha. We'll be frost keepers too. Visit every summer." Baby Yoda cooed, clapping his tiny hands, and Ellie laughed, her heart full. "Deal," she said. "It's our secret now." She looked at her friends, their faces glowing in the light, and felt a pang of something bittersweet. The adventure was ending, but it wasn't really over. Not with that crack, not with the forest still whispering. Then the ice flared, bright and sudden, and a shimmer rose from it, like mist catching the dawn. Ellie sat up, eyes wide, as the mist swirled, spreading over the clearing. "Whoa," she whispered, and Mickey hopped to his feet. "Golly, what's happening?" Baby Yoda cooed, pointing, and the mist thickened, glowing with flecks of light that drifted toward the trees. "It's melting," Ellie said, jumping up. But it wasn't melting like normal ice. The frost softened, its edges blurring, and turned into a sparkling cloud, lifting from the basin. The crack vanished, the ice dissolving into glitter that floated high, then rained down, gentle and warm, over the forest. Flowers bloomed faster, trees stretched taller, and the air tingled with magic, sweet and alive. "It's not gone," Ellie said, her voice awed. "It's everywhere." The mist settled into the ground, the trees, the blossoms, and the clearing glowed brighter than ever, a heartbeat of light pulsing through it all. Mickey spun around, laughing. "Hot dog, it's fixin' everything." Baby Yoda cooed, chasing the sparkles, and Ellie held out her hands, letting the mist brush her fingers. It felt like a promise, soft and strong. A deep rumble echoed from the trees, and the keeper's voice rolled out one last time. "The frost is free," it said, warm and slow. "You've healed it. It lives in the forest now, thanks to you." Ellie turned, but the giant was gone, its shape lost in the glow. "We did it," she whispered, her chest tight with joy. The clearing shimmered, peaceful and whole, and Ellie looked at Yoda and Mickey, their eyes shining. "Time to go home," she said, smiling. "But we'll come back." Mickey nodded, grabbing her hand. "Promise. This is our spot now." Baby Yoda cooed, taking her other hand, and they started back through the woods, the fireflies lighting their way. The forest sang around them, a melody of rustling leaves and blooming flowers, and Ellie felt the magic in every step. They'd saved the frost, made it part of something bigger, and left it stronger than before. But as they reached the edge of the trees, where Maplewood's lights twinkled in the distance, she glanced back. The clearing glowed faintly, a secret tucked away, and a whisper floated on the breeze, too soft to hear but full of something more. "What's next?" Mickey asked, skipping beside her. Ellie grinned, squeezing his hand. "Another adventure," she said. "Someday." Baby Yoda cooed, his ears perking up, and they stepped out of the forest, the summer night wrapping around them like a warm blanket. The frost was safe, the forest was alive, and their promise held tight, a thread tying them to a magic that wasn't quite finished. And somewhere, deep in the trees, a new sparkle waited, quiet and ready for another day. Thank you for listening to this incredible story. Our team would really appreciate it if you give us a like and comment. Your opinion is very important to us. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. See you soon.